Okay, welcome to everyone who's tuning in. I'm just going to wait a few minutes before we kick off. So maybe if Carlos, you want to just kick off the MCC, what we're all about, and then I can intro the topic as people start tuning in.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining us for this 5th episode. So we are MCC, Malta Creative Collective, and we're a creative network that's based in Malta. And when COVID-19 isn't happening, we usually meet on a monthly basis to discuss projects, collaboration, new ideas, and often invite other creatives or other individuals to chat about something that might help the creative industry, like intellectual property or pricing or anything in the broad spectrum of creativity. Today we have some fresh panelists joining us who will be talking about routine. And this is something that's really important. Okay, Rose, you go.
I will take over. So yes, we have 3 new speakers that have joined us for the 5th episode. And well, if you guys want to introduce yourselves very briefly and just go around. Emma Hogg, do you want to kick off your little mini intro?
So hi, I'm Emma Hogg. I'm a psychotherapist, a lifestyle strategist, and I'm also the founder of A Life I Choose. A Life I Choose is a self-development agency, and all the work that we do is designed to empower people to boost their strengths, to amplify their strengths, so that they can overcome any challenge, no matter the circumstance, and that they can create a life on their terms, one that is fulfilling and satisfying and exciting and driven.
Awesome. So essentially the topic for this 5th episode for today is going to be exploring a little bit about the connection between, or the space between creativity and routine, and where these two meet, and the way in which having a structured approach or less of a structured approach to your creative workflow and your output, whether that affects your end results. And essentially, while not having any boundaries may fuel some of your more inspired creations and ideas, the question is, do we still need a level of certainty around some sort of a schedule to help ground our creativity, or do we revel a little bit more in having absolutely no boundaries, and where we might even get more of a creative sort of boost without sort of that much of a structure? So we're getting the question from very different perspective, obviously from a creative point of view, but not only.
Question is for Emma Hogg, and it's also about routine and whether this for you is a choice or a necessity in your days.
Okay, so I found your question really interesting, and I gave it some thought, and I really enjoyed listening to Emma, because I think that we think very similarly about this. So I'm going to be building upon so I'm going to be building upon what Emma spoke about from a different angle, kind of thing. So so if you think about kids, right? Kids do really well with routine. It brings certainty, safety, regularity. You know, routine is a repeated set of behaviors. It's habits, and our habits make us. So kids do really well with routine. At the same time, we know that kids don't do well when they don't have autonomy, when they don't have freedom. They start to struggle when everything is pre-decided for them. And we're the same. You know, we need to have certainty. It's one of our fundamental human needs. And we also need variety. because variety brings novelty, and novelty brings new neural connections, and from new neural connections we see things differently. That's where creativity comes from. So if you ask me, is routine a necessity or a choice? It's absolutely a necessity. What we have choice over is the quality of the routine that we create. Because you can create, and Emma, you touched on this, you can create a routine that is painful, or you can create a routine that doesn't serve your outcome and who you want to be and the kind of emotional state that you want to be in. So our choice is always over, what's the quality of routine that I want to create. And creating a routine is really an opportunity to design your life. It's to design your life to serve you, to, be the best version of yourself, as cheesy as that sounds, to be your best, basically, to put your best foot forward into the world. So when you go about designing your routine, it's important to ask yourself, what's your outcome? And in fact, Emma does this the night before, where she says, okay, what are my intentions for the next day? And you can do this at the beginning of your week, you can do this at the beginning of your day. And basically you can kind of create an outcome that is something like, I want to have a week in which I'm super focused, I'm majorly creative, I connect with my loved ones, and I feel healthy. So you're not focusing specifically on the tasks that you need to get done, but you're focusing on the state that you want to be in, because your state comes first. The tasks come afterwards. If you're in a positive, emotional, and healthy state, you can do what you need to do because you're energetic, you can think clearly, and then the task can come later. So you ask yourself, okay, what's my outcome for this week? So my outcome is, I want to be creative, I want to be focused, I want to stay connected to my loved ones and be very alive and engaged in those relationships. And I want to be healthy. And then it's important that you ask yourself why. Like, why does that even matter? Why does it matter that I'm my most creative, my most focused? Why does it matter that I'm healthy? Because the truth is, like, there are going to be times when you'd rather sit down and watch Netflix. Or there are going to be times when you'd rather order a pizza than cook, or you'd love to de-stress by pounding a bottle of wine, So you need to know why. Why does it matter? So, you want to be your most creative because you want to deliver the best value possible to your clients. You want to really meet their needs. You want to enjoy the creative process. You want to feel proud of yourself. Why do you want to be healthy? You want to be healthy because that's where your energy comes from, when you feel good, you look good, you do good, you create well, So that's why. Why do you want to be connected to your loved ones? Because the quality of our relationships is the quality of our life, and when you feel connected and you're engaged, you feel full, that contributes to everything. Emma, you touched on this too. You were saying, you leave space for connection.
It's all about space.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So once you've defined your outcome and then your why, like you've got your fuel, then you go to your how, and that's when you create your routine, you create your strategy. So you say, okay, like, what do I need to implement? What rituals or actions do I need to take this week to meet my outcome? To meet my outcome of, being my most creative, my most focused, my healthiest, and in touch with my loved ones. And then you might say, okay, to meet my health needs, I'm going to do yoga 4 times a week in the mornings. And then I'm going to go for a walk at the end of the day to mark the end of the day 3 times a week. And to meet my connection needs, I'm going to go for this walk with my husband or with my kids or with a friend. And to meet your creativity and focus needs, you might say, okay, I'm going to do like a short meditation before I start this section of work. And what you can do is you create these chunks where you ask yourself, okay, what role do I need to be in to meet this objective? So for example, you might need to do some administrative tasks, which are not particularly creative, but there's stuff that you need to do. It's the less fun stuff like emails or accounts or whatever. So maybe you put aside a chunk of time, 2 hours on a Monday morning, or maybe you leave it till Friday afternoon, you don't want to start your week like that. I don't think any of us here are accountants. But, and you go into that role of like administrator or, money magnet, or like you're doing client love or whatever, like kind of, I always give them funky titles because I want to juice it up. I want to keep myself interested. But anyway, you put aside that time. And then, for example, Monday afternoon, you're writing or you're painting or whatever you're doing. And the chunks mean that you have specific time allocated for that task. And, if I'm writing, I'm not going to be checking email. If I'm writing, I'm not going to be looking at my WhatsApp messages because that's totally going to interrupt my flow. And it also gives me a sense of, okay, if I'm writing, then I know that I need at least an hour and a half, because 20 minutes isn't enough for me to let go and experiment and flow. But, if I give myself 5 hours, I'm going to spend 3 of them on Pinterest. So, you kind of, you chunk, you chunk to support yourself. So basically the routine, the way I see it is, the routine is there to give you that certainty. It is to support you to produce at your best. And it gives you that structure to be able to let go so that you can be in the state of flow. It gives you the structure so that you can go into freedom. And Emma, you mentioned something super interesting. You spoke about stress and you spoke about pressure. And there is, on a brain level, what's happening when we create a routine that doesn't feel good. So either we're doing work that doesn't fill us up, or we're going from one task to the other, to the other. What happens is that we're so much in fight or flight because it's so stressful that less oxygen gets to our prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain that's responsible for creativity, because it's responsible for integration. It takes all parts, all information from all different parts of the brain, and it integrates it. It makes sense of it. If that part of your brain isn't working, you can't produce your best work. So the routine sets you up. Sorry?
No, I was just gonna say, that's why like slowing down, like people say, oh, I need to slow down. Like, because when you slow down, you have the mental clarity to like do these things. Like if you're just going from one thing to the other, you're never gonna have the space for ideas to come in and whatnot. Exactly.
It literally won't turn on for you. So you won't be able to come up with your best work. You're going to be functioning from survival mode. And in fact, what's happening lately is that a lot of people are making decisions from survival mode. You see this with a lot of financial decisions and whatever, like people, when they're making it from survival mode, they go into greed typically. So it's very interesting to see, and we do this with time and with energy as well when we're in survival mode. So it's very, very important that we support ourselves to step out of survival mode, to go into a more creative, spiritually aligned, you can call it anything you want, flow state.
It's very, very interesting. And as you were talking, Emma, the question that sprung to mind is, can there be, I mean, I agree with you that definitely the quality of routine is very important and something which we consciously need to decide. But do you think there can be too much of a routine, even when we step up and say, okay, I want it to be of an excellent quality that matches my creative needs and my family needs and my spirit and my physical needs? Is there something with having too much of a routine?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. And in fact, I used to struggle with this a lot. Like, I'm a person who likes rules. And my husband makes fun of me all the time because my husband hates rules. So we clash. I used to plan my days to the minute, like, it was doom, 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 doom. But when you function like that, you start to resist it because there's no space. You start to resent your own routine, and you can love your work, but if you have no freedom, it's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to give the best. So this was something I needed to learn, to leave space within the routine, to leave space for the stuff that crops up unexpectedly, to leave space to go and hang out with my nieces, to go and see my friends, to go for a walk with my husband, you know, to bake cookies, like, you know, like just this kind of stuff, like it needs to be there. And Emma said something earlier where she said, you know, these other things, you said something along the lines of they contribute to your creativity. You know, they enrich it. And I agree with that.
I mean, when I was younger, I used to be the kind of person who, like, routine wasn't a thing to me. And then because of my studies, I had to like just implement routine just to kind of survive. But it got to a point, like you're saying, where it was like, I just relied on it too much that, number one, I didn't know anything else. And I just wasn't enjoying anything. So yeah, that's why I find the topic of routine so interesting, because I went through a stage where I like relied on it too much, and then because of that, I like hated any routine, and I was like leaving my days completely free. And I mean, at the time, I probably needed that, but at the same time, I was like not accomplishing anything, both like in terms of work, but also just like, you know, spending time with people, whatever. Because I was never like making a plan, so to speak. So I think it's kind of finding that balance. And I know the word balance is thrown around so much, but like just finding what works for you, really. Like, you know, maybe just having a coffee in the morning is enough for you to get going.
Yeah,
like it's just something. It's about establishing what works for you and like owning that.
Exactly. It's so individual. And also something that I liked about what you said earlier is this tuning in, right? This mindfulness of where am I? Because, you know, we design our lives so that we can function at our best and, you know, be our most compassionate, be our most creative, be our most loving, be our most engaged. You know, if you want a high quality of life, this doesn't just happen. You have to design it, you have to choose it, and you have to take action towards creating it. You want to make lots of money, you have to plan that shit out. You know what I mean? Things don't just fall in your lap. So and obviously I'm using money as an excuse. It's even a high quality of a relationship, a sexual relationship, anything. You need to put energy into it. You need to think it out. At the same time, I think it's really important, you know, Emma said you need to tune in. A routine that we made, you know, 4 months ago might no longer be relevant now. It might actually be working against us, you know. And, you know, even sometimes, you know, a routine that worked last week or that worked yesterday might not work today. Like, so we do need to tune in and use, the best thing about a schedule is that you can reschedule, right? You want the routine to serve you and not the other way around.